fellow bookters. This is Gabby, and we're going to be talking about Silvia Moreno-Garcia. So, Silvia Moreno-Garcia is one of those authors that wrote so many books with such a plethora of genres and ages and settings, and I've always been fascinated. I just think I love her books, but I've yet to read one. And when I got the ARC for Daughter of Doctor Moreau, which is coming out on 19th of July and is the author's newest book, I thought, it's time. Time has come. I read all of the books by Silvia Moreno-Garcia and review them for you. She has written a lot of them, so I think my library has 5 and I already have 3. So Gods of Jade and Shadow, Certain Dark Things, Mexican Gothic, and The Beautiful Ones and Velvet Was the Night are coming. So this isn't really gonna be a vlog. I'm just gonna, read a book, come back and tell you what I thought. And I think we're gonna go from her oldest to her newest book, and this will really prep me for knowing everything about Silvia Moreno-Garcia and what her books are like. A little bit of background. So Silvia Moreno-Garcia was born on April 25th, 1981, and is a Mexican-Canadian novelist, short story writer, editor, and publisher. Ooh, both her parents worked for radio stations. That's a really cool job. Ooh, she's got a master's degree in science and technology from University of British Columbia, Vancouver. And she now lives in Vancouver. Very, very, very cool. She has so many books. Oh my god. I think she has 9 novels, 8 that already are out. That's her full novels. We're probably not going to read all of them. We are going to read many of them. Well, hello. I finished a first book, which is Certain Dark Things. So, of course I hit my face. Certain Dark Things was Silvia Moreno-Garcia's second book, as far as I can tell. This actually came out ages ago. Let me just have a look, see, Lou. So this book first came out in 2017 and it went out of print. And then Silvia Moreno-Garcia got bigger and bigger and people started being interested in this book again. Therefore, it got reprinted, I think by a new publisher. I think the old publisher kind of died. And in the preface of this book, Silvia Moreno-Garcia, tells us a little bit more about the background, how when she wrote this book, it was more of a rarity to have a horror YA, and how that's not really popular, just like a YA print. I don't actually know, is this even adult YA? I don't know. Anyway, horror books were less popular. There were not many imprints, and it was really difficult to do, especially like horror fantasy. Everyone was saying how vampires are dead, and we know that ain't true. So therefore, enter this book, not making that big of a splash, but I'm so glad that it found the, respect it deserves, and the author seems so happy in the preface and all that, so I'm very happy for the book too, what the book is actually about. In this book, we follow the main character, Alt. Atl or Alt? Atl. That sounds wrong, but I don't know. I don't know what it could be. Atl. We follow the main character called Atl and her dog, and she is a vampire, and she's a vampire that comes from like the Aztecs, and that's kind of the line that she comes from, the type of vampire she is, because in this world vampires are born, not made, but there's many different types. I think there's 10 that have been like discovered, and there's many different vampires from around the world. Asian vampires, African vampires, Aztec vampires, European vampires, all kinds, and they're all different and they all have different characteristics. Atl's type of vampires can walk in the sun but very tiring. They drink blood but not with their little canines, but they have this like stinger thing that comes out of them and it like stings. It's gross. They can regenerate, They sleep like sleeping in tight spaces. And in this world, the human population does know about vampires, and actually them being like outed kind of change how they interact with the society. There's now cities where vampires are prohibited, or cities where vampires are only meant to stay in one region, and they can't really mingle with humans as freely as they used to be able to. Mexico City is one of places that prohibits vampires. It completely bans them. There's no vampires legally living in Mexico City. Adolf's family is brutally murdered in the beginning of this book, and she has to run away from the people who did it, who is a bunch of vampires that are necros. They're kind of newer type of vampire from Europe, really gross. They eat like dead stuff and vampires and all kinds of stuff. But she has to escape to Mexico City. She meets Domingo, who's a boy living on the street, trying to, just survive. He's a trash collector, and he meets Adel, and actually she kind of makes him his blood human, and it's two of them trying to escape Mexico City. It's a gothic noir kind of story. Maybe not gothic, but like noir, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. The world in this was so interesting. If any criticism, it'd be there was not enough. I wanted this to be a series. Like, the way the vampires were portrayed was so interesting and unique and different, and there's just so many different types. I loved learning about them, and I would have loved to actually have a series and find out more. And also the ending, I wasn't a fan. Give me a happy ending, girl. Only thing is, like, this chick is in her 20s. The boy's 17, which is not brought up as an issue. And I have a little bit of a problem with that. That's a bit gross. Like, he's a child. Leave him alone. You creep. So maybe I am happy with the ending. Actually, never mind, I'm happy. But I really love the characters. I loved the world building. I loved the writing. It did feel really noir and dark and all that. So I gave it 4 stars, and I would say really good beginning. Apparently she did write another book before this one. This was her second book, but that one I think is also getting re-released next year, but it's not available yet. Or maybe sometime later this year, but it's not available yet anyway, so I couldn't read it. So we read this bad boy, and I would call it a success. Another book completed. You can't even see it. Completed. Okay, so I read The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno-Garcia, which is her 3rd ever release. So this book actually also originally came out at a different publisher and different time. So yeah, originally it came out in 2017, and then it was re-released in 2021. So Silvia Moreno-Garcia, man, like, it feels like she's been pumping out a book every month, but I guess that's just because she's releasing old ones. Very different vibe from Certain Dark Things. So in this one, we follow a girl called Nina, who is on the cover, and she is gorgeous. Nina comes from a quite a rich family called the Belliers or something, but she grew up in the country, and now she comes to the big city to live with her cousin and his wife and start the grand season. So she's one of the beautiful ones, which is like basically aristocracy in this world. And then we also follow Hector, who is a kind of an entertainer. So he has the power of telekinesis, so he can move objects with his mind, and he performs for like audiences and displays his talent. So it's kind of like very uncommon to have this power here, but not unheard of, and it's not like a secret or anything. And he is in the city because 10 years ago he proposed to this woman called Valerie, and it was the greatest love of his life, and he loved her so much, but he was really poor, so he went off to another continent to become a wealthy man, and then he can marry Valerie. And she accepted his proposal. They were engaged. He left, and then he gets a letter that's like, sorry boo, can't marry you. I'm already married to a rich man. So she broke off his engagement with very, very little like preamble and explanation. After 10 years, he's now a really rich man. He comes back to the city and knows that she's in the city as well, Valerie. He is planning on meeting her and maybe hopes there's something still there. And then Valerie is actually the wife of the cousin that Nina is staying with. Valerie it comes from like a very well-respected family, but family that has absolutely no money. So this is why she had to marry Getan, I think you would say his name, Nina's cousin, for the well-being of her family. And she has become quite a bitter person through the years because she feels like she didn't have many choices. So that's the basic setup. Then Hector meets Nina, and when he realizes that she's lives in the same house as Valerie, he decides to pursue her and woo her and court her, and in order to spend more time with Valerie. So it's a very complicated moral conundrum. In the back it says it's for fans of the 18th century classic Les Liaisons Dangereuses. And I think that book is what inspired the Cruel Intentions, that old 90s movies with Sarah Michelle Gellar. And I was like, read that and I was like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. And it does feel like this is kind of like a retelling. I don't know if it was on purpose. It doesn't actually say in the blurb. It's just a review that mentions that. But I feel like it's very accurate. I've never actually watched Cruel Intentions, but I know the storyline and what happens. So I feel like it's very similar. We basically have this young, beautiful, naive girl who kind of breathes life into this man that was deceived by the all like vicious woman. But I will say that it has a lot of empathy and a lot of nuance, and it's all about examining who these people are, and it's about betrayal, and it's about love, and it's about choices, and you really understand and grow to understand even Valerie, who is kind of a villain of the story, because she had absolutely no choice. Like, she had very limited choices and she did the best she could to do with them, but it's not a fair stack, and the world has women have very limited options unless they're rich or have a kind relative who doesn't tell them what to do. And she feels that Nina had all of these choices and privileges that Valerie was never given, and she's kind of righteously angry, but also is taking it out at the wrong person, and it gets freaking insane. Like, it gets crazy. You're like, girl, you okay? So it was quite an experience. I loved this book. It's very Regency, it's very Bridgerton, a little bit Anthony and Kate, but Nina's not like Kate at all. So it's more like if he stayed with the other sister, whose name I don't remember. But anyway, this was brilliant. I was so engrossed in it. It was so easy and effortless to read, and I was just so engrossed in this world. It was so well built. It was different than certain dark things, and the writing I think was pretty different. But I was really into it, and it's this rich tapestry, and I love Nina and her interest and how she grows, and like the parallels, metaphors, all of it I loved. I love this cover. I just think like it perfectly shows you who Nina is. When we meet Nina, Hector doesn't even think she's pretty, but she has this beautiful, striking quality. Like, I feel like she doesn't have in the cover like the most traditionally like beautiful features, or you know, more of a strong jaw and like strong eyebrows and whatnot. But it's striking, it's beautiful, and that's Nina, and like her innocence and how she grows. And yeah, it really is like Anthony and the other sister, kind of. I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful love story, but also a story about growing up and coming into your own. It was really good. I would say there's still a little weird age difference. So I don't know what it is with Silvia Moreno-Garcia, but she definitely has a thing for age gaps. So at first I thought it was worse than it was, because we don't get told the Nina's age. I want to say till like all the way here. Like, we find out like really far into the book that she's turning 20. So she's actually 19 at the start of this book. But the way they kept describing her, I thought she was like 16 or something. And Hector, I think is around 10 years older than her. So that would make him 29, which is not that old, but it doesn't feel that bad. But the way they kept talking about how she's so young and naive and she's a child, and like this was like Regency inspired, so I felt like she's like 16 probably, and they kept talking about how he's so distinguished and old and blah blah blah. But it was about 16 years. It was about 10 years older, so I was like, oh my god, is he like a full-on grown-ass adult and she's a child? But she was 19 and she did turn 20, so it's not that bad, but he keeps emphasizing and emphasizing how she's a child. So I don't know, is this like a thing, Silvia Moreno-Garcia? Are you okay? But that all being said, whatever, I love this book. I devoured it. It was my only 5-star this month, and I just think it was so addicting and beautiful, and I loved it. And I just love a good Regency era. It's not historical, it's like a high fantasy, but the world's definitely inspired by Regency. I loved it. It was beautiful, and Silvia Moreno-Garcia has this beautiful quality ability to tell stories that are very nuanced. So I really appreciate that. 5 stars to the beautiful ones, and we're on to Gods of Jade and Shadow. Hello! So we are on to get Gods of Jade and Shadow, and I thought this is a road trip book. Let's take this show on the road. Now it's insanely loud, it's super windy, there's construction from each and every side. And, you might not be able to even hear what I'm saying. But, let's hope I don't need to redo this. And there was like a loud bang. Okay, whatever. Gods of Jade and Shadow. Oh my god. How do I even start? So, we are set in... What year is it? Jazz Age. Whatever the hell that means. I only have 30% on my camera too. So, this is fun. We're in the Jazz Age. And our main character, Cassiopeia, her life is a little bit grim. She lives with her mother's family, with her grandpa, cousins, aunties, uncles, but all of them are super nasty to her because her mother like kind of eschewed the family and chose the love of her life, which was Cassiopeia's father. But the father died and they got into financial trouble, so they decided to go back live with the mother's family, but they are relying on them financially, and the family is nasty, particularly the grandpa, as well as this cousin called Martin. So that's the vibe. And Cassiopeia always dreamed of traveling, seeing new places, exploring the world, dancing, driving an automobile, just like getting getting from under her family's thumb, I think. I don't know. Getting out of her. Anyway, but one day she is cleaning her grandpa's house and finds this box, and she's like, I'm feeling rebellious today, let me open the box. She opens the box, and bam! A bunch of bones. I know, it's shocking, I was shocked. So there's a bunch of bones, of course she starts twinkling with them, one goes into her hand, a bone shard goes into her hand, and up appears a mysterious creature from the bones, and his name is Hunkame, I think I'm remembering that right. Hunkame, who is the Mayan god of death, the king of Xibalba, and he says that his treacherous brother Yukumkabe, I think, betrayed him, cut off his head, took out his finger and his eye and his necklace. I don't know why all these things are equal in value, but they are. And he trapped him in this box for, I think, 50 years at that point. And Cassiopeia actually released him, and now her life is tied to him because if she, he takes his power from her life force, so he's turning more and more mortal the more time goes on, and she ends up, she's slowly dying basically. Her life force is being taken away. So that's basically the gist. From there, we have a road trip book. Cassiopeia and Hunkame go on this adventure through Mexico, trying to find his body parts and restore him as the rightful ruler of Xibalba. So that's the premise. We're there. We got it. Let me see my notes, because I did take notes. So like I said, this is our road trip book. So I loved exploring Mexico this way. I think just the love that the author has for Mexico and how much she cares and how much she knows about its history, its people, its places. I mean, it's been visible to me through all of her books, but this one truly takes the cake because you are in this jazz age, which I think is like, let me see what year that is. So jazz age is 1920s, 1930s, and you experience Mexico and all the complexities of a place, you know, that experienced colonialism and now is experienced civil wars and stuff, and now is kind of like trying to figure out how to live with America on its borders and all that, and you just experience this beautiful 1920s, 30s world of Mexico, and you get to experience big cities and small cities. I loved looking up the places that they visited on a map, figuring out where they are in the world. It was just so much fun. I think that's like the main part of why I love this. I'm a big fan of road trip. I don't read that many road trip books. I like it in movies, and I think maybe in books, if it was like a contemporary, I don't know if I'd have enough to be satisfied, but this had so many other good things going on for it that I just had to, you know, fall in love. Absolutely love the characters, especially the main character, Cassiopeia. I think nothing beats her. She's so bitter and so tired, just like has big dreams but can't speak of them, and so just tired of life and being exploited and how she's treated. And she takes all of that throughout the journey and just becomes this kind, generous, very mature person that I loved seeing. I think it was just beautifully done. I think Hunkame, he slowly is becoming immortal, and that was done so well. I just enjoyed so much the process of him becoming immortal and what that meant and how that translated. And it's just, the characters were so rich and vibrant, and the relationships were very complex because we have Hunkame and Vukumkabe or something like that, his brother, and they're not twins actually. Yes, they're twins. And how that translated to like the world, that relationship throughout the ages kind of went along. And then also you have, of course, Martin, the cousin, and Cassiopeia and her family, and it's just so fascinating how that's executed. I really love that, and I think that was a strong point of this book. I mean, I loved the romance. I mean, we again have, I think she's 18 and an immortal, but whatever, when he's in his mortal form he's like 20, so yeah, you're just gonna live with it. But I loved the relationship, and it was just so heartbreaking, and I love it. It's like, you know, star-crossed lovers cannot be lovers. We are different species. One's an immortal god, one is immoral, and I loved that. That was done so well, but all kinds of relationships were done very well, and I'm really impressed with that. The vibes were immaculate. It just felt so good. Like I said, we are in this very intricate, awesome world of Mexico in 1920s and on a road trip, and also then there's the added element of the world of like the immortals, Xibalba. We get to experience Xibalba and the Black Road, I think it's called. It's absolutely gorgeous. I don't know that much about Mayan mythology, but I love it in theory. I love all kinds of mythology. I remember watching like Road to El Dorado, which I'm sure is not an accurate description, but as a kid, that was to me what Mayan gods were. That was just so cool. And I think here how each religion kind of is true, because the beliefs of people and humans and the sacrifices they do and all that kind of stuff and the prayers, they are the ones that create gods. So, which I don't think is like super novel concept, but it's just, I don't know, it was executed very well. I really loved how that was done with like very odd gods, like Mayan gods, and yeah, experiencing gods other than like, you know, just Greek gods was awesome. And the world was so rich and beautiful, and the writing, oh my god, how luscious it was. It was just gorgeously luscious and beautiful, and it just, I don't know, it just really took you for a journey, and I love that. And I had a great time, and just the storytelling of it was amazing. The storytelling, it was a little bit almost omnipotent. You have this narrator that kind of is with all the characters, and you know kind of which POV you're a little bit from, so it's third person, right? Once in a while the narrator will reflect on how due to the follies of youth, Cassiopeia didn't know that this was significant. And, you know, it's like all these kinds of, like, beautiful... It's like, I feel like this book is my favorite tropes in one. I did that video where I talked about my favorite tropes, and I swear to God, this book, like, did, like, half of them. It's amazing. I love the storytelling. And I had tears in my eyes, which I think is pretty cool. I didn't, like, full on cry, but I had tears in my eyes. And it was a beautiful ending. Obviously no spoilers, but it was so bittersweet. And I think if I ever write a book, if I ever wrote any story, not just this story, but like if I wrote a story, I know that's how I would end it, because I'm that kind of motherfucker that's just like, bittersweet, oh my god, the stars, oh my god, it's like, it's just like, I'd be there. But when I'm reading it, I don't want it. I want everyone happy. I want everyone happy. But personally, as an author, I'd make everyone suffer, because I love dramatic irony. Okay, that's like my favorite thing ever. So this is why, for all those reasons, this book is a 5-star. Absolutely freaking loved it. I don't even know if I liked it more the beautiful ones or not, but definitely on par. I need to figure out which one's the favorite. We can do a little ranking at the end of this video, but I love this so much. And yeah, 5 stars. It was brilliant. Is there anything else I want to say? No, I think that's it. Okay, well, 5 stars. I used a little microphone for the first time, so I have this blue microphone. I tried using it before, but it's a bit awkward, but now I'm sitting and there's like a desk so I can put it down. I hope you could hear me okay. Love you guys. Could I be ASMR reader? Hello. The time has come to talk about the Mexican Gothic. I thought some ambiance would be nice, but now I'm like, please don't burn down my house. So, Mexican Gothic is our penultimate novel by Silvia Moreno-Garcia in this video. It's set in 1950s Mexico, where we follow Noemi, who is a socialite, very rich girl, very like pretty, let's go dancing, let's go flirting, that kind of person. And she kind of doesn't know what she wants to do with her life, and is just experimenting with lots of different things. And that's where we kind of find her when her father calls her home one night and says that she needs to go visit her cousin Catalina, who recently got married. Maybe not even that recently, within the year she got married, and she went to live in the mountains with her husband's family. But she sent some very disturbing letters to Naomi's father, kind of rumbling, saying there's stuff in the walls, that they're poisoning her, and that kind of stuff. So her father sends Noemi to go figure out if Catalina needs to be committed to a psych ward. And that's kind of the gist of the setting. We follow Noemi's journey as she is in this old kind of Victorian looking mansion with these people that used to be like Englishmen that moved there many years ago because of mining, but now the mine's gone into disrepair. The house is absolutely falling apart. It's really damp, it's really gross. And we meet this family, Doyle family, where we have the patriarch, the father, Howard, then we have the son Virgil, who's Catalina's husband. Then we have Francesca, I believe, who's sister of Virgil, and then we have Francis, who is the son, and he's like the youngest member of the family. So that's kind of where we are starting. This is definitely a horror novel, okay? This is why the ambiance, because the whole setting is absolutely creepy, but also really amazing. We're set in this very creepy old Victorian mansion that's literally falling to crap. And we have this outsider enter it, and it's just so disturbing and gross. And like, there's some things in it made me want to puke, I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't film my proper reaction to the mushroom chapter because I don't really know, is that like chapter 19 that we were referred to? It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but there were bits that really disgusted me. I think this novel really excelled in the horror element. I was creeped out, grossed out, but also engrossed at the same time. It was really well written as per usual. It was slightly easier to read than Gods of Jade and Shadow for some reason. I just kind of flew through this book, woke up this morning, read like 100 pages before work, and absolutely just blown away by how well this was written, how it was paced, how creepy it was. If I were to compare it to any kind of like medium like movies, I would say it really gave me feelings of this movie with Nicole Kidman, and she's in the Victorian house with like 2 kids, and it's a horror movie. I don't remember the title of it. And then also the Crimson Peak. I've never seen that movie, but the vibes really think this is what kind of the vibes are. It's really cool, and we have this little town on the bottom, and it's just like people living there, and it's so interesting. This book definitely has a lot to do with like colonialism, imperialism, eugenics, genetics. It's all wild. It was really wild. I had a wild time, I must say. But overall, I just loved this book so much. It was so creepy. It was so well done. I mean, I could kind of get a gist of what's happening, but I still thought it was executed really well, and I had so much fun with it. I don't even know what I want to talk about. I just flew through this, and I absolutely love the cover as well. And I noticed that all of Silvia Moreno-Garcia's, we have a woman on the cover, which is cool. The first one with officially no creepy age limit, at least for the consensual two-sided relationships, because the main love interest is 25 and the main character is 22. So that was nice to see. Overall, I just loved Noemi. I think her character was so rich and so different from the other ones. Such a distinct personality that you really got a feel for it. And I think what's fascinating is that when we kind of open with the first chapter, it's not really... it doesn't feel like her perspective. It feels like we're entering from someone else's perspective. And we hear how this man had this massive horse head that was made out of paper mache. He made all this effort, so cumbersome, but he did all this because this woman said they would come as a pair to this costume party, and they would blow everyone away. And then she changed her mind at the end of the day to just do something completely different, didn't even tell him, and he's like a dickhead here with this massive head that's super cumbersome, and you're like, wow, what a nasty person. Why would you do that? So thoughtless. And that's our main character. The woman that did that is our main character. But you just grow to love how strong she is, and how independent and how strong-willed and stubborn she is, and how she will not give up. She will not give up. I really, really loved it. I don't even know what to say about it, really. It's just so well done. Phenomenally. Done absolutely phenomenally. I gave it 5 stars, and I don't know, all 3 are just like equally as good, but this was amazing. Goodbye. Okay, time for the last book, which is Velvet Was the Night, and I'm gonna do it in the sunglasses, so hopefully it's not too annoying, but I feel like they look not just like, but the vibe is similar. Okay, so last book of this video, Velvet Was the Night, is the newest at the time release from Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This came out in 2021. Obviously now we'll have Daughter of Doctor Moreau that's coming out, but this came out most recently from that. Sorry if you can hear stuff, it's like hella hot, so my windows are open, and I feel like this is gonna distract you, so I'm just gonna do this. This is quite a departure from other books. So it's set in 1970, which similar, we're going according to the timeline, all good here. Each book has been progressively like later in the timeline, but all of them have been basically set in Mexico City. Or Mexico itself, not Mexico City. What's different is the fact that this is in no way a fantasy, doesn't have any fantasy, sci-fi, unexplained elements, and I wouldn't call it a romance. So it's very different in that sense. It's purely historical fiction. I mean, it's like pulp, She say it's pulp fiction noir kind of thing, but it's like also historical fiction. So that's it. Don't expect any magic. I kind of was, so that's a bit disappointing there, but it's fine. So in this one we follow, what's her face? Maite. We follow Maite, who is a 30-year-old woman living by herself, working as a secretary in a law firm in 1970s Mexico, and she has a pretty boring life. She doesn't get along with her mother or her sister. She doesn't have a boyfriend or a husband or anything like that. She doesn't particularly like her job either. She's just kind of, you know, hanging out. Her one like escape from reality and life are comic novels, but like comics, erotic comics. Let's call it erotica. Let's call it erotica in form of a comic. So that's her escape. And then we have Elvis, who is a boy who works for kind of a gang. They're called the Hawks, and they actually are part of the government. This was really hard for me to understand, but basically they are a gang, but they're part of the government. They were trained, some of them, by CIA, and the government is trying to not let communists rule the country, trying to quell rebellion and not have the power taking over from them. So they have these people like Hawks, who are gangs, and whenever there's a protest, they go and attack the students protesting and then incite violence and keep the population down and docile. So Elvis is part of such a gang. What kicks off the action, I guess, is the fact that Maite's neighbor Leonora, who is this beautiful young girl, goes on a holiday or something. I don't know. She asks Leonora, she asks Maite, could you please look after my cat? And then days pass and Leonora's not back. Elvis is also tasked with looking for Leonora, and basically the whole novel is, where is Leonora? What's happening? We're going to become, like, we're gonna visit communists and fascists, and we're gonna discover all these gangs and political unrest and all of that. And like, it was well written as per usual. I don't think this woman could write a bad prose if she wanted to, but it just wasn't my thing. I don't read historical fiction that's just historical fiction too much. I love historical fiction that's something else, has a bit of spice, let's call it. And by spice, I don't just mean like spicy romance. I just mean something else. Like, I enjoy romance, I enjoy fantasy, sci-fi, something. So I kept reading thinking like, where's this book gonna start? And that's another thing. I feel like the book was like going on and on forever, but like it took ages to actually start. And like I said, there's not really a romance, like maybe if you count it, maybe, but it's not the traditional sense of a romance. I think the protagonist is very different from anything else I've seen from Silvia Moreno-Garcia so far. Quite frankly, I didn't like her. She's a kleptomaniac and like compulsive liar, and she's just so sad and doesn't like her life so much that it was depressing to read from her perspective. I mean, I understand, but girl, it was depressing. And you grow to kind of like her, but I really hate thieves and liars, and she just lied for absolute, like, I don't like lying for no reason, and she would just lie for no goddamn reason. Like, clearly something wrong with this woman. Each to their own, I guess. Elvis, it was fine. I didn't have any strong feelings. I think this is the whole thing. I was interested when I was reading it, and definitely learned a lot about Mexico and the situation in the 1970s, because I didn't even know that much. And I'm still a bit confused. Like, I need to like actually read up on this and understand what's up. But overall, it didn't grab me. I gave it 3.5 because it's so well written. You can't like not care. And I did, but it just nowhere near the level of the other books, which just like stole my heart and absolutely murdered me. So yeah, 3.5, and let's get into general thoughts. Alright, so I have read all of these books by Silvia Moreno-Garcia, so you can see. I thought it'd be fun, you know, like imitate books in La a little bit and stack them. because I actually have physical books for once. So let's stack them. So, okay. Let's start with my how much I like them. Oh, this is so hard. Okay. This is the books in order of how much I like them, from my favorite to my least favorite. I don't know if this book, like these three are basically equal. Absolutely equal. Like, I love them all so much. But if I have to choose, I think Mexican Gothic just has such a imprint in my memory, and this one I cared about. The relationship was so well written, and this one's as well. This one was so good. This one's still good. This one was alright. Favorite heroine. Alright, you're gonna be like, did anything even change? Okay, so this is favorite heroine. Right. Mexican Gothic, I think the thing is, Noemi seems like such a bitch in the beginning, and then you grow to love how independent and amazing she is. Then really loved was this Cassiopeia? Yeah, Cassiopeia. I really loved her, and I think she's just, again, you meet her and you think she's one thing, but then she's actually the kindest thing ever. I loved Nina's growth, how much she changed and grew as a person. Do I like Atle more? You know what? Yeah, because Mate was a bit rough. Now, romance. Let's do this by romance. Okay, so I put Jade and Shadow in the top because, I don't know, just something magical about him becoming immortal and how that kind of like translated. But I feel like it's a very similar dynamic to Nina and her boy, because Hector, because like he grew so much. I love it. Then Mexican Gothic, it was smaller part of the book, that's why. Then Certain Dark Things, except for the weird age gap, I'm on board. And this one barely even had romance, so it's like, should I even count it? Let's do vibes. Top vibes. Ooh, vibes. Vibes. Okay. Mexican Gothic, hands down, best vibes ever. These beautiful ones, amazing vibes in terms of like Regency, that kind of vibe. Velvet was the night didn't have good vibes, as in like it felt like miserable 1970s gang wars. Good futuristic vibes, but I could do more. And then it had vibes, but not as pronounced vibes. Silvia Moreno-Garcia is hands down like on my favorite authors of all time list now. I mean, out of the 5 books I read, 3 were 5 stars, 1 was a 4, and 1 was a 3. So like, winning, absolutely winning. I am so excited for Daughter of Doctor Moreau. If you're interested in my review, I will be posting it next Monday, so keep an eye out and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. Silvia Moreno-Garcia, my favorite things about her writing is the writing. It's just so gorgeous and beautiful and puts you in that atmosphere, in that mindset of the characters. It just exquisitely done. I appreciate it. I really love her heroines. They're also amazing. I like that most of the books have 2 perspectives, so we get to know the man and the woman in a relationship, because it gives like a more nuanced view. I like that everyone's really nuanced in this. I love her range, like horror and historical romance and a sci-fi and a noir and a pulp fiction. Like, what even? Like, it's amazing how much range Silvia Moreno-Garcia has. Absolutely blown away. I mean, I want to buy these because these are from the library, so I should probably buy them. If there's ever a signing, I am buying physical copies of these at least. And then every new book, I'm going to buy a physical copy as well. Well, I've got the ARC for Daughter, so I don't need to do that. But absolutely freaking stunning author with amazing books. She is now my auto-buy author. If I had one note about all of her books, make them more gay. That is actually so. Velvet was the night should have been gay. There was a relationship, and I was like, I don't understand why it's not a gay relationship. So if anything could be added to these books, because they already have such amazing diversity in terms of like culture and ethnicity and that kind of stuff, I just think more any LGBTQ plus characters, because there's none as far as I'm aware. So that's my only note. So Silvia Moreno-Garcia, if you're watching this, more gay characters, and this should have been gay. It could have been bisexual. It should have been bisexual. But what are you gonna do? Thank you so much for watching this video. I think it will be very long, but I had so much fun. Please let me know if you enjoyed it. If you'd like me to do this with any other author, let me know. I can read 5, like they would have to have a decent amount of books, like at least 4 for me to do this. But maybe there's someone I've never read from that's like famous, or your favorite author that you'd love for me to catch up on their backlist. Thank you so much for watching this long. If you enjoyed the video, if you could comment, like, and subscribe, I really appreciate it. It really helps me out. But that's it from me, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!